through the middle of them into Charing Cross Station over on our left. Now the building above Charing Cross Station on the left was designed by Terry Farrell in 1992, and it's supposed to represent a train going through an arch. If you use your imagination, you may just see that. I'm still struggling with that, but that's what it's meant to be. Now do feel free to wave at people on the bridges. They do like to wave back. Very friendly people. So over on our right hand side, we have the South Bank Centre. The first building there, the Royal Festival Hall, built in 1951 for the Festival of Britain, is now home to the London Philharmonic Orchestra. There's lots of arty things going on there. They have two smaller concert halls next to it, the Queen Elizabeth Hall with her cell rooms, and they have the Hayward Art Gallery behind it, and the British Film Institute in the corner, where you can they have some educational film, and they have the largest film icon in the world.
Yeah, good.
So it's quite a buzzing area to have a wander. Waterloo Bridge in front of us. It's the longest bridge on the River Thames, and it's known as the Ladies' Bridge. This is because during World War II, whilst all the men were away fighting, the ladies built this bridge. They were very clever. It was the only bridge to be built on time, on budget. Would you believe a self-cleaning bridge? Yes, only a bridge. When it rains, it cleans the bridge with a special kind of stone called wooden stone. Notice there's a lot cleaner on the outside than underneath where the rain can't reach. It was designed by a man, though, John Gilbert Scott, but the women So still keeping our eyes on the right hand side, the first building you see, you get a chance to go and see something in there. It's well worth a visit. The tickets are somewhat cheaper than the West End. The standard is just as good. Top class actors in there. It's rather nice inside the building. Now, often you will see the River Thames as a backdrop TV shows in London because they film a lot of things in there. And should you wish to do so, the Royal Wave looks like this. So if we want to do the Royal Wave, we'll all be very posh today as we're on Royal Waters. It's a very joyous occasion for the Royals at the moment with the new Royal Baby. We still don't believe this. They've been advertising their product on that spot ever since. Ironically, they left that building in the 1990s. They're still advertising their product. One of the very, very few on the river. There's now an art gallery in there, and you can see on the top floor, you spot some rather lucky people enjoying lunch up there. It's a sunny day. It's a very expensive, famous London restaurant, the Oxo Tower. I haven't been there yet. I'm waiting for someone who can afford to take me. I've heard it's very good. On the left-hand side now, you get your first wonderful glimpse of St Paul's Cathedral. I'm sure you've all seen that before. Television. It's got one of the largest stones in the world. It's 365 feet high, one for every day of the year. St Paul's Cathedral was built in 1710 by Sir Christopher Wren, and it replaced the medieval version, which was burnt during the Great Fire of London. Now, St Paul's is a Church of England cathedral named after Paul the Apostle. Now, in that dome, they have what's called a whispering gallery. You can climb this wall, you can hear perfectly what they're saying. Many people have proposed like that. It's quite a unique acoustic situation. Positively one of my favourite buildings in London. The architecture on there is very, very beautiful. And lots of famous events have taken place in there. We've had the funerals of Lord Nelson, the Duke of Wellington, Sir Winston Churchill, and quite recently, Baroness Margaret Thatcher. Also the marriage of Prince Charles to Lady Diana Spencer back in 1981, and the Diamond Jubilee celebration of our Queen Elizabeth II. There's been a cathedral on that site going right back to the 7th century. In front of us are Blackfriars Bridges. They get their name from the Dominican friary, who was situated on the north side of the river. Now the monks wore black robes, hence the name Blackfriars. And as we go through, the first bridge that you see, the road bridge, they're all Victorian bridges. The first one you see, as we go under the arch, you'll notice the pillars on the side have sculptures of birds on there. And they're birds that are found on the River Thames. And the ones on this side are inland birds, freshwater birds, because this is the side that faces inland. And the ones on the other side are seabirds, because that's the side that faces to sea. We've got a very busy moment on the River Thames at the moment, lots of traffic coming through. River Thames is a tidal river. Tides go in and out about twice a day. So you'll notice we will go this way, downriver, quite a bit slower, and when we come back upriver, because the tide is coming at the moment, hence why the level, if you look at the sides, it's quite high. And even when we come back, just in half an hour's time or so, that may be quite different, that level of water. They really do change quite rapidly. And the currents are so strong in here, which is why the colour looks quite murky. It's dredging up all the sand and mud from underneath. It is quite clean. Lots of species of fish in the river. It's meant to be so clean that if you poured a glass of water from here, the sand and mud would sink to the bottom. You would have a crystal clear glass of water. I'm not convinced I would want to drink it, however. I'll talk a bit more about Blackfriars Bridges on the way back. You're probably wondering what those columns are doing. All the bridges.
It's okay.
But if we go back to St Paul's Cathedral for a moment, you'll notice there's not a lot of tall buildings surrounding it. That is very deliberate. There's height restrictions surrounding St Paul's. You're not allowed to build anything to restrict our view. Now that includes from afar all these buildings in the city, very cleverly designed, in the right position, so that we always see St Paul's Cathedral. Now, as we go past this building on the left-hand side with the red bricks and the City of London School, see the crest there? There's a glass atrium in the middle, again very deliberately put there, so that as we go past, you'll see the view of St Paul's. If you have your cameras ready, you might be interested in taking a photo there. You do get a lovely view of it as we go past the bridge as well. Are there any Harry Potter fans on board? Do we like Harry Potter? Yes? Well, Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Harry Potter in the films, that is where he went to school over there. On the right-hand side, the white building with the thatched roof. That is a detailed reproduction of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. The original one was burnt during the production of Henry VIII. They fired a cannon during the performance. Not a great idea when you have a thatched roof, hence it's burnt down. But they built this reproduction in 1997. And they perform Shakespeare's plays in the summer months now, and just like the Elizabethan original, it's open air, you stand up, you get to cheer and jeer at the actors, They like to do it exactly the way they did in Shakespeare's day. But if it rains, you do get wet, unfortunately. And tickets are quite reasonable in there. I think the cheapest tickets are something like £5. It's the only thatched roof in London because after the Great Fire of London, the thatched roofs were banned, quite understandably so. But that one got special permission. As we come underneath this bridge, if you keep looking over to the right, you're going to see a little pub with red windows. There's lots of people enjoying a pint at the moment, I think, in the sunshine. Now, that's the Anchor Pub, one of London's oldest and most famous pubs. That building only goes back to the 18th century, but there's been a pub on that site for 500 years. Dr. Samuel Johnson, Charles Dickens and Samuel Pepys all been known to have a drink in there. And in later days, it was a favourite place for smugglers and pirates. Lots of goings on. And lots of Shakespeare's actors would have used that as a dressing room because you can see how close it was to the Globe Theatre. Now, as I mentioned pirates, you will spot what looks like a pirate ship on the right-hand side. This is a replica of Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind. In 1577, Sir Francis Drake sailed around the world. It took him 3 years with £25 million worth of treasure. Despite his piracy on his voyages, bestowed him a knighthood. Her share of the treasure paid off the entire foreign debt. So he was rather popular at the time. The replica has sailed around the world twice, which is once more than the original. You can visit that if you're interested. We're now going under London Bridge. You may question that. If you don't believe me, have a look at the writing on the wall. London Bridge is the one with all of the history. There's been a bridge on this site for nearly 2,000 years. The Romans built the first bridge, but the medieval one is the interesting one. There were houses, shops, churches, lots of people crossing it. And rather gruesomely, the severed heads of the people that was beheaded at the Tower of London. William Wallace was the first head on London Bridge. There could be up to 30 heads at a time on that bridge. The Victorian one, that was sold off to an American developer. He paid £1 million for it, shipped it off stone by stone to Lake Placid in Arizona. Rebuilt it exactly the same. It's a popular tourist attraction today. But rumour has it, he thought he was buying Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge is the one in front of us. The confusion doesn't end there. Many people think that Tower Bridge is London Bridge. If you Google London Bridge, a photograph of Tower Bridge will come up. I don't know why they are so confused. But there you go. Now you will notice this rather large warship in front of us. This is the HMS Belfast. This is the 11,500 ton cruiser. It was the largest cruiser in the British fleet during World War II. It participated in the Russian convoys, D-Day and the Korean War. Those guns at the front there, they can fire up to 12 miles. This was actually built in Belfast, hence the name, in the same dockyard as the Titanic. But this one did survive. It was launched on St Patrick's Day shortly before World War II broke out. Lucky for us because it really did play its part.
Oh dear, what boat? We'll do it.
I will just reiterate that there is no standing at all on the upper deck. If you haven't got a seat on the upper deck, could you please go to the lower deck? That's much appreciated. You have to sit downstairs, I'm afraid. On the right-hand side, the glass building. That is our City Hall. Our Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, works in there. Lots of nicknames for that one. The armadillo, the onion, beehive, but my favourite, Darth Vader's helmet. The Tower Bridge in front of us will be 120 years old next year, built in the design to suit the Tower of London on our left. Now there's an old sailor's legend that goes with Tower Bridge, and I'm going to need your help. As we go under the bridge, if you wave at the people on the bridge, and this is why we've been practicing, so if you wave at people on the bridge, if you get them to wave back, we all get 5 years good luck. So make some noise, get their attention. Yeah, they must wave back at you. There's one, there's two. Yes, hello. It's definitely 5 years good luck.
Very good.
So we're now entering the old port of London. Back in 1914, this was the biggest port in the world. And right up until the 1960s, this was crammed with barges and ships, all unloading their cargo of food and all sorts into these buildings either side, which were very busy warehouses at the time. Now, to put it in perspective, there were so many barges and ships in this part of the river, you could walk from one side of the river to the other without getting your feet wet. You could literally step from one boat to the other and get across. Exactly. You could have just walked across the bridge.
London Bridge. Across London Bridge.
You see, now they are not warehouses anymore. After the 60s, they became quite derelict as we found different modes of transport. So in the 1980s, someone had a fantastic idea to redevelop them all into luxury apartments. As you can see, they're in a prime position on the river here. Beautiful view. But the unfortunate thing is they cost a fortune. Probably the cheapest would be about £1 million. But there you go, you get what you pay for. As we turn now, if you have your photographs ready, your cameras ready, on the left-hand side, you're going to get a great photo of Tower Bridge. Rise to let the tall ships through. Now back in its heyday, it would have opened about 14 or 15 times a day. Now, just a few times a week. Sometimes we're lucky to see it, but not at the moment. The walkway above was built for people being able to use the walkway when the bridge was opened, but now it's a museum. We're going to approach the Tower of London on our right-hand side as we go through the bridge. Definitely my favourite famous landmark in London, and one of the oldest. It's over 900 years old, and the oldest parts dating back to William the Conqueror. Lots of things have gone on here. It was a royal zoo, an observatory, a royal mint. It now houses the Crown Jewels. They're protected by the Beef Beaters and the British Army. But it's most famous for all those people who'd fought. tower, and often executed by people in them. Can you see entry to the Traitors' Gate just above the waterline there? A waterman's boat would have taken them from the Palace of Westminster all the way down here. That's bricked up, that entrance now, but they would go through there, never to be seen again. Hence why it's London's first railway shoot. They would go in there, and surely be beheaded out in this open area where all the people are now, Tower Hill. They surely needed an audience to be brought to people. It was a deterrent for people not to upset the royals again. And they did quite many attacks in those days, so quite an evening or a day of entertainment for them. Over on the left-hand side, that tall glass pyramid building, that's the Shard, otherwise known as the Shard of Glass. The viewing gallery at the top there has recently opened in February this year. And there's lots of things going on in there. They still haven't finished offices and shops and apartments and all sorts. It's 310 metres high, 72 stories, making it the tallest building in Europe. Now, apartments in there are said to be going for £40 million. Yes, 40 million. Unbelievable. Oh, to be rich. On the right-hand side, those other tall buildings, that's all just office blocks. All now, it's the main area of the City of London there, where all our office workers are. There's one nearest to us, not finished yet, hence the cranes. It's called the walkie-talkie. We just nicknamed it, unfortunately, because we think it looks like a walkie-talkie. The one next to it, we think that looks like a cheese grater because it's a wedge shape. This sandy coloured building on the right-hand side with the arches, this used to be the Billingsgate Fish Market. You can see the fish where they're made on the top of the tower there. In its heyday, it would have sold over 400 tonnes of fish every day. And Michael Caine, the actor, that's where he had his first job in there. As we come through, just before London Bridge, if you look on the right-hand side, this gap in between these two buildings, keep your eye out for a column with a gold ball. That is the monument built by Sir Christopher Wren to remember the rebuilding of the city after the Great Fire of London. Now that is 62 metres high. It's the exact distance from where the monument stands and the baker's shop in Pudding Lane where the Great Fire started. The Great Fire of London destroyed 80% of London in 1666. 13,000 houses and 100,000 people made homeless, but strangely enough, not many people died because many of them escaped by boat over to the south side of the river where the fire did not reach. If you take a look on the left now, you'll see a cathedral. That is Southwark Cathedral. John Harvard, who went on to found Harvard University, he was baptised in there, and there's a memorial named after him. The great building on the left-hand side that's features walks, just behind there, it's a museum today, but that was a prison. There were many prisons over on the south side. This was one of the largest as a men's prison. And that's where we get the term today. A lot of Londoners say, throw him in the clink. That's what we mean. In prison, a very famous prison. As we come underneath Cannon Street Railway Bridge now, the next bridge in front of us is Southwark Bridge. And to the left, the whole area there is named Southwark, would you believe? Now, back in medieval days, the City of London on our right-hand side was protected by a Roman wall. And they had quite strict laws about what you could and couldn't do. Southwark did not. They had the theatres, they had the prisons, they had cockfighting, bear baiting, drinking, gambling, brothels, all sorts, all over on the left-hand side. That was the fun side. So you had to cross the river to do all those sorts of things. Not changed very much, unfortunately, that area. You probably will just get a glimpse, as the tide is quite high, on the left-hand side as we go underneath the bridge, of the remains of the top set of steps. Now this was a very commonplace because you can imagine it's right in the heart of the theatre land there, those little steps. And a lot of people would have hailed a waterman's boat to cross the river. London Bridge was the only bridge crossing the river at the time, and it was only 12 foot wide, the road, and there was carts and carriages trying to cross it, people trying to cross it all at the same time. So it would take up to an hour to walk across London Bridge, so it was often quicker to just hail a boat. We also have the Rose Theatre and the Swan Theatre over in Southwark. All those theatres, including the Globe, were made famous in the film Shakespeare in Love, if you saw that. The bridge in front of us, this footbridge. The Millennium Bridge is the official name, but we call it the Wobbly Bridge. The reason being, it opened for the Millennium, and it had to be shut on the same weekend. Didn't even make 2 days. As people were walking across it, there was a distinct wobble in the structure. It was making them feel quite sick. So they closed it down. It took them 18 months to fix it. There is no wobble in it today. But the nickname stuck. So many Londoners still call that the Wobbly Bridge. It takes you from St Paul's all the way over to the Tate Modern Art Gallery on our left. Now, that's a 325-foot chimney on there. They wonder why on earth it has a chimney like that. Well, it used to be the backside power station. Because of pollution, they shut that down. So, in the year 2000, they opened it as a Tate Modern Art Gallery. It's modern art from 1900 to the present. Designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott. It is the world's most popular modern art gallery. If you do like art, the main exhibition in there is free, so that's worth a visit. My goodness, the river is so busy today. Lots of people enjoying the nice weather. You'll see on the left-hand side all these people walking up and down, and you think, where are they all going? Well, this south bank stretches for miles. If you feel inclined to walk, you can go as little or as far as you want. There's lots of riverside pubs on the way to stop off, and lots of things to see. Lots of people always mill around on the south bank, any time of day.
There we are.
So back to Blackfriars Bridges now. You may remember mentioning those on the way through. This is the railway bridge. You can see the trains going through there now. And those are solar panels on the top. This is in fact the world's largest solar bridge. A little ironic having that in London, but it is lovely and sunny today. And has been for a few weeks. Let's hope that lasts. We're loving that. But there are two columns in the middle. You wonder, what are they doing? They're doing nothing. Well, this was the original bridge that brought the first steam train across the Thames. They took that down because it didn't support the heavier trains. Built the two new bridges, but the columns were embedded so deep that they couldn't do anything with them without blowing them up with dynamite. That caused a problem. It would blow up the two bridges next to it. So they left them there, painted them red, and hoped we wouldn't notice. You can see we're coming back a lot quicker now, a lot more breeze coming through. On the right-hand side, the white building with the green sloping roof. This is the old City of London School. There's 4 statues on there, decorated with 4 great English scholars. We have Francis Bacon, William Shakespeare, John Milton, and Sir Isaac Newton. Behind the black and white boat there, where all the trees are, that whole area beyond there is the historic Temple and Inns of Court. Now this has been home to lawyers and barristers for 500 years. Prior to that, the Knights Templar owned that land, and they went off on the Crusades, let the lawyers and barristers borrow the land. But when they came back, the lawyers had changed the law. So they did not give the land back. They stayed there ever since. It includes Lincoln's Inn in that area, where John Donne the poet and Oliver Cromwell were both students. Got many listed buildings and cobbled streets, so if you like architecture, that's worth a wander. I want to point out Temple Arch on the right hand side. You'll see it in a second. Now this marks where we leave the City of London, the City of Commerce, and we enter the City of Westminster, which is the City of Royalty. You'll see a face carved out there. That's old Father Thames, the legendary protector of travellers on the River Thames. Can you spot the silver dragon looking thing on the pavement? They're silver griffins. Now they're put there to protect the perimeter of the city. The City of London is only a square mile and it has its own laws, its own police force and its own Lord Mayor. You can see King's Reach written there. This is because this is as far as royalty can come. If the Queen wants to enter the City of London, she has to ask permission of the Lord Mayor. Can you believe that? That is so.
It's a toy with a boat.
We're approaching on the right a beautiful Georgian-looking building with a green dome. That's Somerset House. Been a public office for many, many years. It had Admiralty in their inland revenue, but most famous for being a public record office for births, marriages and deaths. Hence we nicknamed that one the Hatcham, Matcham and Dispatching Department. Not a public office anymore, it's an art gallery for the Courtauld Institute. Impressionist and post-impressionist art such as Van Gogh, Renoir and Monet. They have a courtyard in there. They do all sorts of things in the courtyard. In the winter, they have an ice skating rink, and in the summer they have concerts and open air film showings. Lots of it's free. So that's an interesting place to walk around and have a look at as well. Just underneath the bridge on the right-hand side, you'll spot a building with a single flag. That is the Savoy Hotel, one of London's grandest hotels, and a lot of rich and famous people will stay there. Probably because they're the only people that can afford to. It's very expensive in there, but it is very, very grand. And it's the only place in Britain where they drive on the right on their forecourt. The building next to it with the large clock face, that is Shellback's house. This was once offices for the oil company Shell, and it has the largest clock face in London. That is 1 inch bigger than the clock face on Big Ben. And 1 inch makes a lot of difference when you're talking about things like that. The obelisk in front of the monument with the two sphinx. Now this is Cleopatra's Needle. It's the oldest monument in London. It's 3,500 years old and it's older than London itself. The Egyptian government gave us that for our help during the War of the Nile. They gave the Americans an identical one, which is in New York Central Park. Now the Sphinx, you'll notice, are facing towards it. We put those on at a later date. Now tradition says that they are supposed to be facing away from the monument to guard it. We didn't know that. We put it on the wrong way around, and we left it. In there. The memorial in front of it with the golden eagle, that's the RAF memorial, built to commemorate all of the air servicemen and women who lost their lives during World War I and II. If you look further along on the right hand side, there's a red brick building with white stripes. That is the old Scotland Yard. They moved to the new Scotland Yard in Victoria quite a few years ago, but the old Scotland Yard, the Metropolitan Police Force in London, was founded by Sir Robert Peel. Hence why we call our policemen in London bobbies. And the last building, with a funny looking black roof, that is Portcullis House. This is offices for our members of Parliament. It's bomb-proof, shatterproof, all sorts. Those what look like chimneys on the top are actually not chimneys. They're part of an unpowered air conditioning system. So they're doing their bit for the environment in there. The building behind the eye, County Hall. Now this was once home to Greater London Council, but Margaret Thatcher abolished all of that when she was Prime Minister back in 1986. So this building now houses 2 hotels, several restaurants, the London Eye Ticket Office, the London Aquarium, the London Dungeons. And if you have your ticket, go to the back of the ticket office, look for signs for the 4D experience. I'll tell you what that is. It's a 3D film. It has an added sensory effect which makes it 4th dimension. It's 5 minutes long and it is free. So if you do want to do that, just pop into the ticket office, go to the back and look at the signs for the 4D experience. Now, as we are coming back to the pier, it will just take a couple more minutes to dock properly, so if you wouldn't mind just staying seated for a little while longer, it keeps us all safe. It does sometimes just a little bump as we dock. We don't want anyone falling over. In the meantime, if you have a look around, make sure you've got all your belongings with you. Please take your children with